In this MPC Academy tutorial, we're going to take a closer look at the new Hype plugin instrument, now included inside MPC standalone and MPC desktop software. Now, to instantiate Hype, the first thing we need to do is navigate to our main menu. Then from here, make sure the plugin tab is highlighted, then we go to plugins, and then push your data wheel down. Now you can see a selection of all the instruments available inside MPC. So we're going to select Hype, and now press the select button on your screen, which instantiates the plugin. Now to get to the user interface, press Menu, then Program Edit, and now we can see Hype's intuitive interface. Now Hype uses up to 3 synth engines per patch, which can be a combination of wavetable, FM, virtual analog, and multi-sampled instruments, along with a giant preset library with over 1,500 presets to keep you inspired. Now all of the presets are in categories from pads, leads, through to synths and plucks, so you can navigate very quickly. Now each patch on Hype can be quickly edited by simply using any of the 6 macros or the 8 fast editing controls to shape your sound. Now let's take this first macro and mix between 2 oscillators. So let's navigate to our first oscillator. I'm going to change the sound type. Let's make it a bit of a darker pad. And again, we can blend between the 2 oscillators. Now let's go to the second oscillator and let's change this as well. Now with these types of controls, it makes it very intuitive and fast to come up with different types of sound design. Then we have our 8 go-to fast editing controls, giving you access to all of the key parameters that you need. Everything from cutoff, resonance, and key go-to effects. Now let's bring in the pumper, add in a sidechain effect. Having these types of controls really makes it creative to shape your sound. Then next to our controls, we have our effects. Now, this gives us 8 effects that we can simply just turn on and off by touching the screen that will influence our sound. Now, all these parameters are also the same parameters that are on our filter page and our effects page. So if we go to filter, here's our actual cutoff that's on our home page, and it's the same with our effects. So if we want to change our effects, we can then go into the effects tab. So we could change the pumper. The value at the moment is at a quarter note. So we could change this to an 1/8. And again, if we go back to our controls, we can influence how much of the pumper effect will be played on our preset. So now let's look at our next tab. This is our filter and amp tab. And this is where we can shape our filter and our amp envelopes. And we also have cutoff, resonance, spike, and decay on the left side. Now this cutoff, for example, again, this is the same cutoff that is on our fast editing tools on our main macro page. And then we have our effects parameters again on the right-hand side. And this is great because it means we don't need to jump in and out of menus to influence our sound when we want to apply effects if we're changing our envelopes. In this example, I'm going to be using our filter and amp envelopes to shape our sound. Going to bring our cutoff down and increase our filter envelope, bringing up our sustain, then we'll go over to the amp and we're going to increase our sustain and release, and then we'll go to our envelope depth and bring this down and our velocity, and now let's bring up our resonance and bring our cutoff right down. Now let's go down to our amp envelope and sharpen our sound up. Now let's add some reverb to this. And that's how simple it is to use the envelopes to quickly shape your sound. Now our next tab is our effects one. This is where we can influence our sound with an LFO. All we need to do is increase the depth. We'll put it into tempo sync bar and increase the depth. And now what we can do is add modulation. So we'll use our mix wet and dry. And now this is adding modulation to our LFO. And we can change our modulation rate. Now let's go back to our LFO and we're going to change our sync rate and hear how it influences the sound. Increase our depth, bring it back down. And then we have distortion. This allows us to add saturation and drive to our sound. Let's increase our mix wet and dry and increase our drive. Then we have our hype section, which is like a magical exciter that adds really smooth frequencies directly to your sound to bring out the fundamentals. As an example, let's use this bass and then simply use the touch interface and bring out the frequencies. Then on Effects tab 2, this is where we can set up our delay, reverb, compressor, and pumper effects, which correspond to our effects on the right. Then our last page is Setup. Here we can set our master transpose, portamento glide times, poly mono modes, MIDI control, and overall tuning. So let's end the video having a listen to some of the amazing patches that Hype offers MPC 2.10.